Have you ever heard on the news, the government has added another $200 billion in debt? Panic, anger, internet comments. We're doomed. Now imagine this. Dave didn't have big ambitions. He sent a quick application on Stickton and now works as President of the United States of Sticks. First day at the Wooden House, first meeting, first piece of news. Mr. President, your country owes trillions. Okay, simple question. What if we just print more money? Sir, it's better to take on public debt. What? What is national debt? National debt is simply the total amount of money the central government owes. Just like a person takes out a loan when they spend more than they earn, a country does the same when tax revenues aren't enough to cover expenses. Important, it's not citizens' debt. It's not your aunt's mortgage. It's not the credit card of the state of California or Minneapolis. It's only the central government's debt. Why doesn't Dave print unlimited money? Tiny problem. When you print money without control, that money loses value. Too much money chasing too few goods equals prices explode. It's called inflation. If you overdo it, it becomes hyperinflation. Venezuela and Zimbabwe can tell you all about it. We talked about it in the previous video. Why do governments go into debt? 1. To cover the deficit. If the government collects $3 trillion but spends $4 trillion, there's a hole. Cut services, protests, raise taxes, protests, or borrow the money. Guess what almost everyone chooses? And here, there are often problems of corruption. 2. To invest in growth roads, schools, hospitals. If you wait until you have all the money before building them, you lose years of development. If you borrow and invest wisely, the economy grows. And with a larger economy, it's easier to repay the debt. It's like taking a loan to start a business. If it works, you earn more than you owe. 3. To handle emergencies, pandemics, wars, financial crises. In 2020, the United States borrowed trillions to prevent an economic collapse. In certain situations, it's not a choice. It's survival. 4. To refinance old debt. Governments roll over debt. A loan expires, they issue a new one to pay the old one. As long as markets trust them, the system works. If trust collapses, what happened in Sri Lanka happens. So who lends money to Dave? There's no bank with trillions in a vault. The government sells government bonds. Who buys them? Citizens, banks, pension funds, other governments, foreign investors, even public entities of the same country. When you buy a government bond, you're lending money to your country in exchange for interest. It's considered one of the safest investments out there. That's why many pension funds love them. Sometimes, the central bank steps in, buying bonds to stabilize the economy, but doing it excessively can create problems. Is debt always a bad thing? No, debt is like a knife. It can cook dinner or hurt someone. If a country uses debt to grow, innovate, and strengthen its economy, it can work very well. Japan has enormous debt compared to its GDP, yet it hasn't collapsed. The problem arises when debt grows faster than the economy. Interest payments become too heavy. Investors lose confidence. When that happens, interest rates rise and the spiral becomes dangerous. To understand how big debt is, economists use the debt to GDP ratio. There's no magic number. Sustainability is what matters. Can a country be debt-free? Technically, yes. Practically, almost none are. Macau is often mentioned as an example of being almost debt-free. But Macau is not a sovereign country. It's a special administrative region of China. And China's overall debt exceeds 300% of GDP. So I'd say that doesn't count. And paradoxically, eliminating debt isn't even always desirable. No debt would mean massive spending cuts, very high taxes, no government bonds for investors and pension funds. The modern financial system is built partly on that debt. You might ask, why do countries with very high debt levels do fine, while others with similar debt levels collapse? Maybe we'll talk about that in another video. We're out of time. See you next time.